This month, the Federal Bureau of Investigation released the primary video used in the investigation of the death of convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Deputy Director of the FBI, Dan Bongino, described that video on Fox & Friends just weeks before its release.
There's video that when you look at the video, and we will release, that's what's taken a while on this, we are working on cleaning it up to make sure you have an enhanced, and we're going to give the original so you don't think there were any shenanigans. You're going to see there's no one there but him. There's video clear as day. He's the only person in there and the only person coming out. You can see it.
We showed this video to multiple video forensics experts who agreed what the FBI and others have said is simply not true. That video and other evidence led to the conclusion by the government that Epstein's death on August 10, 2019, was suicide. An analysis in consultation with video forensic experts suggests multiple inconsistencies between statements from government officials, including Bongino, a report from the Department of Justice's Office of the Inspector General into Epstein's death released in 2023, and the tape itself. These inconsistencies, while not contradicting the conclusion Epstein died by suicide, do introduce questions that the government so far has declined to answer. We'll show you those in a moment. First, let's break this all down. Epstein was held at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Lower Manhattan, in a unit separate from the general population known as the Special Housing Unit, or SHU. The unit has 3 wings, each with 2 levels. Epstein was held in the upstairs L tier of his wing. That tier is accessed by a set of stairs from the central common area. Directly adjacent to those stairs is the officers' station, where on-duty corrections officers spend most of their time. The Inspector General report says several cameras in the unit were streaming a live feed to a remote location in the prison, but no one was watching them. Malfunctioning equipment meant only one camera recorded the general area. That camera captured part of the common area, including the officer's station and a sliver of the staircase leading to Epstein's cell. The footage begins at 7:40 p.m. the night before Epstein's death. You can see staff and inmates moving about, preparing for the nightly lockdown. That's the officer's station in the background. Only 2 employees have been publicly identified. Tova Noel, a corrections officer pulling a double shift that began at 4 p.m., and Michael Thomas, a materials handler who won't arrive until midnight. Epstein is seen for the first and only time on camera at 7:49 p.m. when the Department of Justice said he was escorted to his cell from another wing of the unit. It's important to note here, you don't actually see Epstein ascend the stairwell to his cell block. Remember what Dan Bongino said.
There's video clear as day. He's the only person in there and the only person coming out. You can see it.
Let's zoom in and play that again in slow motion. Here's the sliver of stairs. Epstein is here with his escort, and they walk off screen. When the FBI released the video, they said anyone entering or attempting to enter the tier where Epstein's cell was located from the common area would have been captured by this footage. But with the primary entrance here, the pathway from the entrance to the stairs is completely out of view of the camera. For the next hour or so, corrections officers and inmates are seen moving about, preparing for all prisoners to be locked down. At 8:21, another inmate is seen being escorted toward the stairs leading to Epstein's cell area. No movement is detected on the stairs again. By 8:24, all of the inmates appear to have been taken to their cells. Noel told the Inspector General she visited Epstein's cell at about 10 p.m. You can see her head in that direction here, albeit closer to 10:30, but not climb the stairs. The rules require rounds to be made every 30 minutes, but according to the report, this was the only time anyone checked on the inmates that night. There was even a sign printed on orange paper posted on the guard station saying mandatory rounds must be conducted every 30 minutes on Epstein, as per God. This was because of concerns about his risk for suicide. At 10:38 p.m., the report says someone, probably Noel, carries a bundle of bedding or clothing up the stairs. It's a rare instance the video does catch movement on the stairs, but barely. Let's see that zoomed in and in slow motion again. Several of the video forensic experts we spoke with were skeptical about the report's conclusion and thought that the video could be showing an inmate walking up the stairs. Authorities say this was the last time anyone approached his cell block until his body was discovered the next morning. Again, while the video does not contradict that, experts who viewed the video say the limited field of view makes it impossible to definitively conclude that no one used those stairs in that time period. Beyond this, there are other issues our investigation and others have uncovered. At 11:21 p.m. and 34 seconds, a cursor appears briefly on screen, indicating the video may have been recorded with a camera or a screen recording and was not an export of the RAW file. The FBI said it had seized the prison's hard drive 5 days after his death and had released the full RAW footage this month. Two experts told CBS News the video's metadata, which tracks how a file is created and changed, shows it's made from two clips stitched together in editing software. Those experts also say the video was edited and saved multiple times. Next up, the now famous missing minute. At 11:57 and 35 seconds, an individual appears on screen from the direction of the main door. It's likely this is Michael Thomas arriving for his midnight shift and replacing the other staff member on duty who'd been working from 4 to midnight. Noel was starting a second shift of 8 hours. From that point on, only Noel and Thomas were on duty during the critical window when Epstein is believed to have died. At 11:58 and 58 seconds, the video jumps to midnight, and the aspect ratio of the video changes slightly, another indication it may have been edited. Zooming in and playing back in slow motion, you can see a slight shift in the shape of the figures standing or sitting around the officer's desk, but otherwise, nothing changes. Attorney General Pam Bondi attributed the missing minute to a nightly reset of the security camera system.
There was a minute that was off the counter, and what we learned from Bureau of Prisons was every night, they redo that video. It's old, from like 1999, so every night the video is reset, and every night should have the same minute missing, so we're looking for that video to release that as well, showing that a minute is missing every night.
That additional video has not been released, and a government source has alleged to CBS News the FBI and other agencies are in possession of the full, unedited footage. Why the FBI did not release that is unclear, and the agency offered no comment. Importantly, the Inspector General gives no indication there was a minute missing when their team reviewed the video. We can surmise the male staffer working the 4 to 12 shift would have left during the missing minute based on the report, leaving just Noel and Thomas. But that is not seen on camera. Serious problems with the government's investigation and witness statements don't end there. The report says the unit was secured by 2 doors, one requiring a key held only by Noel and Thomas. Noel told investigators no one could enter without her physically opening that door. But here's where it gets tricky. Let's look at this one example. 4 a.m. Noel remains in full view of the camera, yet seconds later someone walks in, and it appears neither Noel nor Thomas let her in. The report is silent on this apparent contradiction. And even if there was no other key, both Noel and Thomas had ample opportunities to let someone in. At least a half dozen times, one or the other of them exits the camera frame in the direction of the door, all without explanation. We shared this with our forensic experts, who agreed there was no way to conclusively determine from the video whether an unseen visitor was or was not let into the Epstein unit, although both Noel and Thomas have said no one else entered. At 6:22, either Thomas or Noel walk off screen again and reappear carrying food trays, breakfast for the prisoners. At this point, based on the autopsy results, Epstein is believed to already be dead. According to Thomas's account, he arrived at Epstein's cell to deliver his breakfast and found him in a seated position, his buttocks an inch from the ground, held up by a torn sheet tied to the bunk bed in his room. At 6:30, someone rushes in from off camera, according to the report. This was Noel returning to the desk to call for help after Thomas discovered Epstein. Epstein's body was quickly removed from the cell. Only Noel and Thomas witnessed him hanging. At 6:40 a.m., the video ends. Epstein's body is not seen being removed. Both Thomas and Noel have said they played no role in Epstein's death. They were charged with falsifying documents, but those charges were dropped as part of a plea deal. Additional clarification could come from a second camera mentioned in the report. It recorded an elevator bank in the same unit, although the report stated that it did not cover areas that would have included access to Epstein's cell. It would at least show a missing minute. We reached out to the Department of Justice to see about obtaining that footage. They referred us to the FBI, who referred us back to the Department of Justice. Neither Thomas nor Noel responded to our inquiries through their legal representatives. For a case that demanded transparency, it's yet another muddled chapter, raising more questions than it answers.